Welcome to Sober on Purpose, the show where emotional sobriety and the messy reality of loving someone with addiction meet. We're here to help you discover peace, purpose, and healing through Jesus, no matter how chaotic life feels.
Hello, Sober on Purpose family. I have the great pleasure of introducing Rebecca Scott of the Encourager podcast and the Encourager Academy. And later she's going to tell you about an opportunity that she has for 10 lucky women starting in the new year. We always need that boost in the cold of the new year. She runs a ranch, she manages kiddos, 3 businesses, and she's in South Dakota. So the snow gets high. The snow gets high out there. And one of the things we were talking about was, how do you feel comforted, safe, like things are going to go okay when, I've been worried about people down in Florida. Certainly if you're working with someone who has addictive behaviors, you're worried about that. Maybe your job's not going well. Maybe the marriage isn't going well. How do you pick up a system? And that's what Rebecca's going to talk to us about, is her 5 systems that it doesn't make all of the tragedies in our life go away, but it gives us a place to sink into. So Rebecca, tell us a little bit more about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I created 5 systems that I think we all have, and we have them whether we're married or not, or whether we have kids or not, or whether we're male or female. We have these systems. They are your me system, how you're getting a full charge. Okay. And everybody's going to look different. Some of us want a bubble bath. Some of us want to run. Some of us want to date with girlfriends, whatever it looks like. Then there's your food system. That's answering the question, what's for supper? Think how often you do that, right?
What a hard question.
Okay, then there's your home system, and that's making your home feel like a sanctuary. So when you arrive home, you're like, yes, I'm home. Not be like, well, I'm approaching another chaotic place, which could be on some days, right? And then there's your family system. That's writing and living out the legacy that you want to leave behind and making sure that you're currently living it. And then, of course, there's your work system, the who, what, when, where, and why of the work that you're doing. And when we operate in these 5 systems, or we clarify them, we go, okay, I do have those 5 things. When she was saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I do have those 5 things going on. When we can look at them objectively and zoom out, then we can go, man, I guess I asked the question, what's for supper, all day long, 5 to 10 times a day, right?
Or an hour.
Right. So, yeah. So that may be an indicator that your food system is broke right now. Like you actually don't have a system around it. So you could create one around it. Or when mentioning the home, you're like, my home feels super chaotic. That also means you just don't have a system around it, and we can help you create that. Because when you have systems within those 5 pillars, you will relax and it will give you more comfort because you're like, wait, I know what to do with that. And when you get a derailment, like a big tragedy or a change in diet plans, or the kiddo is heading off, or there's all these things, you're like, oh my gosh, everything feels chaotic. You can just take a deep breath out and go, well, actually, what would this change mean? What system would this change affect the most? Then take a look at that system and make some adjustments. So it's not like you're going to create these and then you're like, they're good, they're done. Nope, they will keep evolving as your family keeps evolving, as you change. You can get better at some. You can put some aside for a while too. If you're like, you know what, the food system, I don't care. We're just going to do frozen food for the next month. That's fine. That's fine. But knowing that you're making this pre-decision of like, you know what, we're not touching the food system right now. Great. Then you've made that. So when the question comes up, you're like, I know what I'm having for supper. We're having frozen pizza. That's what we chose this month. Okay.
That's all I got.
Right. And so when they are in place, you actually have a lot more comfort when these major derailments happen, or even minor derailments, because you're like, well, I already know what I do within this system. This part will change.
And that, when you have a major illness in the family, when you have somebody with addictive behaviors, or say a child is kind of bouncing off the walls, and you've got these systems in place, how can you settle yourself? How can you not be, because part of Sober on Purpose is purpose, is finding our identity in Christ, finding our purpose. And if I am just losing it because the house is a mess, nobody in the family is connecting, nobody in the family is having joy, how do these systems help what seems so simple help me to wade through what's inevitably going to happen?
Okay. So let's just take a look at that exact problem you said. Let's say you're feeling really chaotic with the house and you're like, I'm not connecting with my kids because I'm totally overwhelmed with the dishes and wanting to vacuum and feeling guilty about not spending time, like whatever. So that we're going to call that your home system. It's also a little bit of your family system too, but let's call it the home system right now. So you're like, okay, if that feels the most broke right now, what is the simple things that I could do to get my home system operating a little bit better next to what feels really heavy right now? So we always start with family meeting. At the family meeting time, we're going to change some things because mommy is losing it with everything that's I've done. So we're like, let's just implement a simple thing. So one thing that we did when I was having a lot of those feelings is we're going to set an alarm for 5:30 on all of our phones, those that have phones. And then when the alarm goes off at 5:30, it means chore time. And everybody, chore time. So what do you guys, in our family meeting, what do you guys think would be appropriate for chore time? You know what they're going to say is super simple. So mom's the one who's got to be like, okay, guys, we got to do a little bit more of that. But really, when I started doing that, it was about 20 minutes and I felt so relieved. After I'm like, oh, meaning it was 20 minutes of chore time. So it was like, I would like the floor to be vacuumed, your rooms to be picked up, and at least one countertop cleared off so I can prep dinner or whatever. And so everybody went, okay, well, I'll do that part and I'll do that part and I'll do that part. And within about 20 minutes, mom was less stressed and we had a system in place to kind of relieve that. Now, that does not mean that the whole rest of the day wasn't like messy and stuff until we kind of honed it in. But what started happening with just that simple tweak is that people anticipated the alarm coming. So they got it done before so they didn't have to be interrupted later. So the house actually ended up less messy because of that. And then I would relax as it was really messy during the day because I knew the alarm was going to go off. We would clean and we'd have a reset.
So
that's one
you're teaching your family so many things. When we break it down, you're teaching them we can talk about this. We can set a time to deal with it instead of me crabbing at you all day long, because that's what I'm guilty of. But when are you going to get that done? When are you going to take care of that? It's 3:00. You said you were going to take care of that. Instead of me crabbing at you all day long, we've come to an agreement around that. And then you're teaching them a problem solving method, even 5 years on up and 17. So did you ever meet resistance when that was when we were doing this? So how did you deal with the resistance?
Well, the alarm would go off and nobody would start moving. And I was like, okay, then we can have a whole nother family meeting. I can add a bunch of chores. So I went with the threatening version. That did not work. Then I was like, okay, maybe the list was too detailed, which is me. I'm like, I had to simplify it. It was too many steps. I'm like, fine. We still need that one countertop cleaned off so that we could do that. I want you to set the table at least, and I want the living room clean enough that I can vacuum. If we don't vacuum, fine. But it's at least got to be picked up enough that I could after supper if we wanted to. And I didn't touch their rooms. Fine. Then it was easier. We can add layers, which we have done now that we still have that in place. We've added like, okay, and clean your room and do this because they realize it feels good. But I had too detailed the first time, met some resistance, simplify it even more. That's how we implement it. And, the alternative is what we talked about. Mom is super crabby and overwhelmed. So if the 5:30 chore time doesn't work for your family, let's go back to the family and say, what do you think would work for you guys? Should we do this right before bedtime? Is that somehow better? Should we do it break? I have a lot of homeschool gals that I coach here, and they do theirs at noon so that there's actually 2 pickup times or it's too overwhelming all day long. So like at noon, we do a little quick pickup.
And one of the things that you talked about was your stress relief of just having the meeting.
Yes. Yeah. Like we're in this together. I mean, God created this unique little family. Did he not see that there would be these unique personalities all shoved under one roof? He knows.
Right.
He knows. And I always love the phrase too, like that God did not create chaos. Think of nature. I mean, and think of our storms right now. Even that is somewhat majestic, but it is not chaotic. That is like the storm happens like this because this happens like this and this happens like this. The tree never grows upside down. Like, yeah, the tree does not grow upside down. And so we can always hone in our systems so that they are more organized because he saw you fit to run all the roles. And what Satan would love to see is us continue to be chaotic and say, well, it's just going to be that way for the next hour. No, we can create systems for right now during this season that will work and keep improving them or let some of them go depending on the season.
Well, and the other thing, I was just thinking about this while you were talking, that if people came together in a family meeting, I would feel heard.
Yeah.
Instead of me going to you, you need to, you need to, you need to, no, 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 and saying it 18 times because the child shuts down, the spouse shuts down, you know,
Oh.
everybody shuts down when you, my husband said to me, and this is my fault. I'm not faulting him or throwing him under the bus. My husband said, I said, well, what do you need to do to remember that? He said, I don't need to remember. You'll tell me 16 times before it happens. And I went, oh, mirror,
Yes.
mirror, mirror on the wall. I needed to realize my part in that, that if I wanted him to act like an adult, I had to treat him like an adult, right? Here's the information. Do what you choose with it. And, you know, if the car doesn't get gas or the groceries don't get bought, then I guess we're all going to deal with it. On the other hand, I wanted a partner. I wanted to be a partner, not a parent. And he put that back on me and said, you're going to tell me 16 times. I'm like, that hurt.
I can only imagine. It's true too. Like even with the simple version of the chore, is like when you have your home system dialed in, you're like, this is what happens in this day. You know, we chose chore time, but like for us, Mondays is laundry day, so everybody knows on Sunday night that they got to start bringing their laundry upstairs, and then we start. So we don't have as much complaining about laundry and picking up the clothes in their room because they just know it's standard that we do laundry on Mondays. And so if you think about your children in the industries that they're in, school, there's a routine, there's a system, and they relax when they know that, and they get excited. There's a toss up in it, it's a field trip or whatever. It will operate the same in your own home when they can anticipate this is what happens on Mondays, this is what happens on Tuesdays. So also on Tuesdays, everybody strips their bed and we do all the linens. That's just how it works at our house. I relax when I do that because even if that day some news has been delivered that's really chaotic, there's something very comforting about, whoa, this feels like a lot. I got to process it. It's Tuesday. I got to strip the beds. So you strip the beds and you process what's going on. And so those systems, like it's not even thinking about them. It's just a no-brainer. And then throughout the day, as you're folding them and thinking, you're just processing. So somehow the home system for me is one of my most comforting things, is because it's just so dialed in that this is what happens when, that it's just comforting. It's just really comforting.
Two of the biggest lies that were ever spoken over me were from my own dad, that I was a liar and a sex addict. And that is unfortunately exactly what I became. But join me on October 23rd for the Blessed Family Recovery Summit to learn more about my journey away from that identity and into my God-given identity.
And, you know, I can see times in my life where I'm like, I don't even want to get started because nobody will cooperate. I was creating a culture of discord just by saying that statement. I was creating a culture of disconnect just by saying that statement, rather than, like you said, breaking it down to little small things. So when the guys were 3 and 5, you know, maybe the 5-year-old could have gotten the sheets off the bed, but not going to get them folded, not going to get them back on. There's some expectations in there. Part of it is, how do you hold yourself accountable when you set up a system? Because that would be my downfall. I'd be like, oh, I just can't face it today.
Yeah. Well, I would suggest 3 different things. Is that you find an accountability partner. That's one way you can always solve something. You're like, you know, find a friend who's already got the menu planned for the next 6 weeks. They're like an accountability partner. Or you can pair it with something. Some people call it habit stacking. So if like you're like, I just rub wrong. But if you always do something on Tuesday, you always have your Bible study on Tuesday, then you always pair it with your sheets before you head out the door. Like pair it with something that that's already in place that you do nonstop. Or then the third one was create a deadline for it. Because this is a chore, you can't really create a deadline around it, but like we will have the sheets cleaned by Wednesday no matter what. There's a deadline on it. that might help. In this scenario, I wouldn't choose a deadline. I would do the partner accountability
Mm.
or pairing.
Mm-hmm. And when you're in that crisis, when you're going through the behaviors, when you're going through like the storm in Florida, when you're going through a death, as you're doing that, I taught this to my kids. I don't know if it's stuck. Was we do these other things because we respect ourselves.
Yes.
And that's what
we honor our home. We have to be good stewards of the things that we've been gifted with. And I have went through grief with my brother, died by suicide in 2014. And I had a distinct scene where I was like, oh, I couldn't wait to do the dishes. This is so weird. But it was so comforting to because you don't know what decision to make next. You don't know how to process. I'm fielding phone calls from my siblings and from my parents. And I could not wait to just stand there and this is what my job is. And I'm a doer, so it helped. But I couldn't help but think man, this is just because it's a system that's just really comforting. And I'm going to do the dishes. And now I'm going to do the laundry. So when those things just become automatic, it's so much easier to process. Sorry, it just makes me think of that again. If they're in place, it's comforting.
Well, and there's normalcy to it. I think where some women that I work with get out of whack is, well, they're not doing their part. The child, the spouse, the parent, the whatever, they're not doing their part. So why should I do my part?
Oh.
And I think part of that is God doesn't call us to save the other person. Calls us to do what we need to do for ourselves to be in connection with him. So even if they're not doing their part, God has still said, I need you to do yours. What does that look like?
Yeah. And he'll meet you right there.
So talk us through the other systems and how you help women get these in place to where they do go, that's not so bad.
Right. Be careful to remember, you probably won't start all of them at once. You'll just kind of zoom out and figure out which one is most broke and start with that one. I do recommend starting with your me system, just how you get a full charge. Because once you know that, then you'll be like, whoa, I got to make sure I make time for this so that I can do all these other systems. Because if you're doing all the other systems at 25%, you're going to burn out real fast. So the other systems, I have 2 simple hacks for each one of the systems to kind of get started. It's a downloadable on my website. If you go to theencouragerpodcast.com, download it there. And pro tip, the one that is the hardest to fill out is probably the system you need the most work on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yes, for your me system, I recommend that you get up before your circus. We farm and ranch. We literally have rogue animals. So whether it's 5 minutes or it's 2 hours, and I've coached everybody. I've coached ones who are like, absolutely not, I can't do it. I'm like, listen, just 5 minutes. You slough out of there, you get your cup of coffee, that's fine. But give yourself 5 minutes to 2 hours before your circus wakes up, before your amazing family wakes up, to prioritize. I have some needs. I'm going to meet them. I'm going to also prioritize myself today. And those 2 hours can look like whatever you would like it to, exercise, Bible, whatever, or the 5 minutes is just sipping your coffee alone. Do 5 minutes. That's my first thing for me system. And then the second one is pick a pampering evening. If you hate the word pampering, fine. Don't pick that word, but pick an evening that's more me focused, and it might not be alone. So this might still be, if you have a toddler, they may still be in the room when you're trying to take a bath. It may be a walk, but pick something a week that is very me focused, that gives you a ton of joy, that reminds you why you were created, that allows you to set yourself apart for a minute and talk to God. So do those 2 things for your me system to start.
No, wait, I want to pull you up there. I'm sure you have run into women who are like, nobody else is going to take care of dinner. Nobody else is going to take care of the dishes, the vacuuming, the whatever. There is no me time.
Okay.
How do you talk
30
with them?
minutes. I tell them 30 minutes. It used to be, there's a very good language right now that's me, right? So we're not going to go there, because that's not what we're asked to do either. But get just 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Have that family meeting that says, I have to have this. Where can we fit this in? Because your spouse, hopefully, will desire that for you too. And explain to them, I got to have this. I'm in a season where I'm processing this, and I'm asking for is 30 minutes, and see where you can wedge it in. Take a look, zoom out at your calendar. You'll find at least 30 minutes. That's where I would say to do it. And yeah, you're probably going to walk out with the floor's not cleaned or whatever you mentioned, the dishes and all of that. But if you recharge and come back, you might have a little bit more energy to tackle one of those things. But you
And
got
I'm not gonna scream at my kids, yell at my spouse, tell everybody they should just manage themselves. I see it as so valuable, but there are also times where I'm in full go mode and just can't stop. I can't imagine with a ranch that there are times where you have to do. It just is.
Yeah. Well, my husband's really good about like, why are you worried about that? Like, I already set up that meeting, or I already closed that gate. Like, I don't know why you're panicking about it. So again, that's communication with your spouse and your children about, and my girls, I have one son and 3 daughters. My girls, especially, I think because they are females, recognize in me like, Mom, do you need a walk?
I was just talking about that on another podcast. Well, we just talked about it too, of that mirror, that mirror. We are radiating stuff all the time. And you kind of came on saying this, but this reduces your anxiety. So guess who you get to be? Loving, joyful mommy.
Yes. So it is important. I think it would be very arguably not for you to find 30 minutes. And I do recommend, and this one's a little bit salty, so sorry if it doesn't feel right, but binging on something for more than, do not let binging be your pampering time. I mean, I know for the moment it feels joyful and entertainment. I think entertainment is important. So don't get me wrong there, but that is not this me time that I'm hoping. It probably won't involve a screen. It might involve relationships and women and men. It might involve relationships, but I doubt it will involve a screen, would be my argument. I haven't played it out enough, but I'm like, I can't see that being fulfilling.
It's kind of soul sucking, and we're on it all day. And so, and you're pretty prolific on how you do your social media and stuff. But I imagine there's a time that you shut it down.
Oh yeah.
Nope.
Yep.
I'm talking to people face to face.
I love when my cell phone dies. My family is so annoyed. They get so annoyed. But I'm like, my phone died. There's nothing more I can do.
So for that person who is really struggling to find that 30 minutes, one of the suggestions that I had, especially as a mommy of young kids, was I would put myself in timeout. And where's the best place to put yourself in timeout?
Okay.
Go to the bathroom.
I know.
And just close the door, because the adults probably aren't going to bug you. The little ones, you can still kind of hear what's going on. I mean, if they're really little, you probably have to do something, but you can still kind of hear what's going on.
Yeah.
And you're still typically in the center of the house. You can pull 30 minutes out of there and wash your face. There is so much research on that. Touching the face, washing the face, releasing those facial muscles, because we hold a lot right here. Spend 10, 15 minutes washing your face.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Some other simple hacks with the other systems would be like, I got to think off the top of my head here. Oh, food system is do your grocery shopping 1 time a week is my suggestion, because we spend a lot of time. So we live out in the country. Anywhere we go takes time. So mine naturally started with that. But when I hear my girlfriends talk about how many times they run to the grocery store a week, I'm like, wow, gross. Do you realize that? Like, and I time everything. It's one of my secret coaching things, is like time everything. Just go get the sour cream, and you never just get the sour cream, right? You get the sour cream, you get tortillas, and you get a candy bar, and you get blah, 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 So my recommendation for the food system to really dial in is only do the grocery shopping once a week.
Absolutely. And it is statistically proven that you spend more when you shop more than 1 time a week. You will absolutely spend more, and you will buy things you don't need. We're not saying if you're having people over, don't go get the sour cream. But what we're saying is you will cost yourself time and money. And then I have one more. So we could not find a household job for my oldest that he would not push back on, until we lived 20 miles outside of town too. Until we asked him to go grocery shopping for us. Saved me 2 hours, because he went and he did a better job, and he didn't go, oh, well, we could probably use this. He could probably use that. He stuck to the list, helped our budget. So sometimes you find the right job for the right kiddo, saves you money, saves you time, and off you go. It doesn't always have to be what we, the sweeping the laundry, the, chasing the cows back in, whatever that is.
That too, right? And then the other thing I recommend for your food system is make your decisions by 9 a.m.
Oh,
and
I don't know if I could do that. That really kind of feels.
Yes, you can.
Sticky.
I make mine by 7:30, because by about that time we out the door to all the different schools. And sometimes I just make the decision and that's it. I'm like, okay, this is what we're having for supper, this is what we're having for lunch, and this is what we're doing for snack, and that's it. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I got 3 extra minutes. I lay out the cans or I get out the ingredients so that they're ready. But if you make the decision for your food for the day, then at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 4:35, you're not still asking, oh gosh, what's for supper? Oh gosh, what's for supper? And using that mental bandwidth. I create for a living. So every mental bandwidth I have when the kids are in school has to be for creating cool purses and accessories, not food. So I do recommend make your food decisions by 9 a.m.
That
Even
is
if
so
the food decision is drive-through, fine, just make that decision.
That is so awesome in the sense that that emotional and mental bandwidth, you don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to keep asking that questions, and you don't run downstairs at 4 o'clock and go, I forgot to take the ground beef out.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
still
Right.
frozen.
Yep. Yes, 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 yes.
You know, and then when they come home and say, we don't want that, you're like, too bad. There's peanut butter and jelly.
I know. I know. Yes. Oh my gosh, I know so well. Yes. So go ahead.
How do you, we talked a little bit about accountability for yourself and for your me system. Is it having the me system first that, because you alluded to it, you can't do all these other ones at 25%. So give the philosophy around the me system first.
To get a full charge. So you know how they give the analogy about the airplane and you put the oxygen mask on and then you help your kids. Well, thankfully, blessed, I've never been put in that situation, but I guarantee I'd be sticking it on the kid. Like, to me, the analogy does not work. But an analogy of this, of what we use every single day, is our phones. And we are always hyper aware of our charge on our phone, right? I already confessed I love for mine to just die. But we're all aware of that. So think of yourself as a cell phone charge. If you didn't plug it in the night before and you wake up and it's 39%, how long until that thing dies? Could be 11 a.m. and your cell phone dies. So treat your body as the same. If you did not get a full charge, at what hour are you going to lose all of your power? Could be a so find out for yourself personally, where do I get this full charge? Where does it happen where I feel like, yes, I can do this? Then it can go into a whole another area of like, maybe it's supplements, maybe it's going to see a doctor to find out like, hey, what's going on? Why am I acting like this? Maybe it's getting up earlier so that you can, you're an introvert or an extrovert. Where are you getting your energy? Maybe it's reading your Bible. For me, it's burpees and Jesus. If I do burpees and I spend time with Jesus, I am like shot out of a cannon.
Do you have a social on burpees and Jesus? I can see you having a social post on burpees. I think burpees are heinous and should be outlawed.
I love them. I did 13,249 burpees one year. Like that, I legit tracked it and everything. I love them. I love them.
For us mortals who may be dealing with something, some kind of tragedy going on, when you have the me system in place, you've got addiction chaos going on, a funeral or something like that. How does the me system help you with that level of chaos?
Well, you're going to crave whenever, even if it's just 30 minutes, whenever that is going to happen, you're going to crave it happening because you know, like, okay, that's a moment to rest. That's a moment, like, maybe you don't even need to process, but you're like, okay, I know a Tuesday. So for my pampering night, it's Tuesday for bubble baths. And I've been operating that even before Philip's death, my brother. And so I knew like, okay, Tuesday, I will have a bubble bath. I don't know if I thought about him or not. That was a long time ago. But I knew like, okay, that moment is coming for rest for myself and for me to charge. And another charging moment for me is exercise. But so when you have that in place and the chaos is happening, you're like, but on Friday, I'm going for a walk with my girlfriend on the gravel road, you know, like where that is anticipatory, like, okay, there is going to be a moment when I get that charge back.
I'm going to salsa tonight.
Oh.
I do a salsa dancing class. I try and do it. I'm a drunk monkey with 2 left feet, but I enjoy doing the class, and it's in a framework of where I got a kid at youth group. Everybody else, my dad lives with his husband, all this stuff. Everybody else can take care of themselves, and I just walk out the door. I'm like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to come back. And like you said, I look forward to it because it has those components. It has joy components to it. It has connection with other people components. It has music, and it has movement. What else could you ask for?
Yes. And that's dialing in for yourself. Like, for you to know that about yourself is really cool. So during these pampering times, or recognizing yourself, where do you get joy? And if it's been so long, start trying a few things, you know, like what are the reels that you tend to go to? Is it comedy
Mhm.
ones? Maybe you need to just go to a comedy club. Maybe you just need to get your laugh on. Is it the dancing ones? Maybe you just need to move your body and dance. Try to find like, wait, where do I see joy sparking up? And then see if you can pursue things in that area.
Yeah, and honestly, ladies, my husband does not care for this, and this is mainly a group of women, so we do what we do, but it's in a safe environment. I don't have to wade through strange things in a bar or those types of things. It's a dance class, and I just love it. And I could be doing square dancing, circle dancing. I don't care what it is. There's something about the music and the movement. So, like Rebecca is saying, think back to when you were 6. Was it coloring in your coloring book? Was it, climbing a tree? Was it, hey, I like to produce cakes. I just like to, whether I eat them or not, I hand them away to the neighbors. The neighbors love that kind of thing. What
Yes.
is it that you lose track of time?
Yeah. You lose track of time, or you're slightly embarrassed by admitting it. That's a good note that is a compulsion.
I thought about that. Yeah.
I had a
Absolutely.
gal who loved researching vacuum cleaners. I was like,
Okay.
all right, well, I've never heard that. She goes, I love it. I'm like, okay, then research vacuum cleaners. Do what you got to do. Like, find your joy.
Absolutely. Well, and talking about odd things, I had a friend who was a lawyer and she had a very good job and she really liked going on job interviews. So for fun, she went on job interviews.
What?
I
Of
know.
course.
I know, but she loved it.
Impressive.
Well, but think about a job interview. You get to talk about yourself. They're totally interested in who you are and what you're doing. You get all the time and space to do that. And they can either offer you the job. If you have a job already, they can either offer you the job or not. And it's not stressful.
Oh,
I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
yeah,
You know?
that's not a bad idea. I'll do that in my free time.
Yeah, Rebecca, you don't have free time. Well, that's not true. So tell us a little bit more about the cohort that you're starting in January and what that's going to look like.
I've had several versions of coaching over the years, but I'm the most excited about this one because I've done the other versions and realized, okay, I would tweak it like this so that I could be with the women more. And so I have an encourager cohort starting on January 8th. It is 10 weeks of coaching on the 5 systems. We'll spend 2 weeks on each system. And because it's a smaller group, we're limiting it to 10 women. I will be able to individualize like, okay, tell me about, well, what is going on in your life right now? So that I'm not pushing out like, we're going to work on our home system this week. Because I know that I will be able to say, not you though. The home system is broke right now. We are only working on how to restore yourself and your food system. So I'm really excited for, it's not one-on-one coaching, but it's a smaller group so that we can really tweak the system so they work for each individual woman and their stage right then. And it comes with all the guided worksheets. So you'll fill this out so that as you evolve and your family evolves, you can keep changing your systems. But I can't wait. And 10 weeks is a perfect amount of time without a huge commitment of a year, because we know like staring down that is a lot. Even 6 months feels like a lot. But 10 weeks is something that I have done coaching in 10 weeks that I know will work. And so I'm really looking forward to who joins it. Starts on January 8th and we'll start promoting it the end of October.
Fantastic. So this is something that can be considered part of your me time, right?
Oh, yes.
I'm
Yes.
learning things for me, about me. It will end up helping everybody else. It can be part of your me time. And also, it is something that starts in January where you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to buy spandex.
No.
And you can really make changes because that food system, the home system, the family system, the work system, even if kind of weight is still some of your goal, you get those systems in place, then you can go to the gym. You can go to the walk. You can't go chase the cows out in the field if that's your thing. Whatever you want to do as far as that's concerned.
And it's a very edible time. It's for an hour every Wednesday at noon. And so you can consume it and then figure out what time you're going to do your homework with. So it's also not like 4 hours of time. I think this is going to be our sweet spot for the coaching.
And you will always get encouragement because every time I talk to you, I'm encouraged.
Oh, good. Yeah, I love the examples to share where I'm like, wait a minute, maybe you could do it. So I also I can't wait to meet the women to find out what they are doing, because wait, that scenario I could actually do in my family system. It's so fun to exchange the ideas.
Yes, absolutely. Now, We are doing, you and I are part of the Blessed Family Recovery Summit. That is happening October 24th and 25th. And we're not going to give it away, but you have some pretty hefty secrets that you're offering in that conversation. Now, this is a free summit, but the other thing I want to tell you, I don't know if you have it handy, Rebecca is raffling off. We are raffling off one of Rebecca's handmade
I do. Give me a minute.
purses. Ta-da! So Rebecca is an extraordinary creator. This one is super fashionable. And tell us about the material that's on this one.
Oh, this is a Rosie or a Katie bag. So this is a awesome sling bag, so you never have to take it off. And it's got this awesome, I don't know why the camera on these StreamYards. It's like a blue gray and then railroad stripe. My entire life, forever and ever, all men. It's like classic, but yet it has a little bit of a country vibe to it. It has persimmon zippers, and the inside is called Walk the Line. One of our most popular styles, mostly because, you know, bleacher life. I'm in the middle of bleacher life right now. You do not set your bag down on the bleachers. It's disgusting. So you never have to set this one down. Get into your money, get into your phone, all the things, stand up, do the cheering. So
great. It's we're headed into basketball season. It'll be awesome for that. Running through the airport over Thanksgiving or Christmas. This is something that will be just really effective. You can put your driver's license, your wallet, your passport, whatever in the front. Make that happen. Water bottle, go to the side. Yeah. Absolutely. So we're going to be raffling off one of those in the Blessed Family Recovery Facebook group. It's going to be a party. And I can tell you all of these 16 speakers, they are so fabulous. All of them Christ followers, all people who are praying for you already. So make sure that you join us October 24th, 25th, and 26th. And they've all provided you with fantastic extras to go with each one of their interviews. Plus, we've condensed the interviews to 30 minutes, which was hard to do because they're so much fun, but we've condensed them to 30 minutes. So please join us there. And Rebecca's going to be there as well. Look forward to seeing you. Rebecca, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me on. Stay encouraged.